There's high expectations in Tuscaloosa, and there has been since Nick Saban arrived in 2007. But is that fair? Are the expectations now too high for the Crimson Tide? We're going to get into that and more right here on the original Bama Tailgate Show and Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Make sure that you like and subscribe, guys, and let's talk Bama football. What do you say, everybody? I'm Mick. We're talking Alabama here as we look at what's going on this week. Alabama getting ready for South Florida, and we'll get into that later on in the week. But let's talk about the legacy that Nick Saban has built at Alabama. I remember when he arrived with the huge fanfare and immediately turned the program around. Even in 2007, the loss to Louisiana Monroe, and that was kind of the end of the Shula era and the beginning of the Saban era, to me anyway. You know, it was that was that moment where it was like, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. This isn't who we are. And from that point on, 2008, all the way until last year, even the 2010 season where they lost 3 games, going into the Iron Bowl, Alabama always had a shot to get to the championship game, which really was amazing. And they played in a bunch of championships, and they won a bunch of national championships. This year, though, the loss to Texas, the way that the season went a year ago for Alabama, I know, look, I thought that they were one of the best 4 teams in the country last year, but they had 2 losses, and they were the team that was left out, the 5th team, and they take 4. The question, though, is, are our expectations for Alabama too high? And I think that that's kind of where we are right now with this program. Is the process continued? You know, I just thought of that, like the process. You know, it's not about winning and losing, but it's about the way that you come in and develop, right? And we felt like last year that process wasn't really happening until Alabama lost that game to LSU. And then when they were out of it, or seemingly were, they played well in the Iron Bowl, and then they won the Sugar Bowl, right? This year, obviously, after the game against Texas, the things that Alabama and Nick Saban built this program on were missing. You know, discipline. No discipline last year, no discipline in that game. Turnovers. Alabama always on the plus side of turnovers. Last year, they couldn't generate turnovers. And this game, the Texas game, not only did they not generate turnovers, they gave the ball away 2 times, and that resulted in 10 points, right? The offensive line not blocking, losing in the trenches. You know, these are all things that Alabama did that they aren't doing right now. And we saw that last year, and then now it's continued over to this year. So is the process continued? And I don't know the answer to that. The question that I have, though, is that there's a deterioration right now in what's going on. And I'm wondering, okay, is this the result of NIL and the transfer portal? And what I think it could be is that one of the things that you know, and I know, and all of us that watch Alabama football saw, is that Nick Saban brought this intensity to coaching. You know, in your face, throwing headsets, not accepting failure on the field, fire. It's not there now. At least it's not visible. And I thought mistakenly, well, you know, he's really comfortable with where this team is, right? And that's why he is just so relaxed and so laid back. And not the fiery guy. And then after the game, I realized, no, it's that he's probably worried about something with this team, and he doesn't want to upset the apple cart. And last year, he wasn't fiery. And I thought, well, it's because, you know, he's got a team that's making mistakes. He's just trying to stay calm so that he doesn't lose the team. But now what I'm thinking is maybe there's more to it than that. Maybe it's that if, you know, little Johnny gets upset that Nick Saban yelled at him, he's just going to turn around and walk out and go somewhere else. And you're talking about a program that, despite the butt whooping that they took from Texas, and despite the way that they played last year, winning a lot of games that they played poorly in, that they made a bunch of mistakes, and losing some as well, maybe what he's worried about is, with the most talent in the country, maybe not at the quarterback spot right now, but just overall talent, still, a lot of number 1 recruits and 5-star players and 4-stars and all that. He's worried that if the fire's there, he's going to have to deal with parents on a different level now. Now, if you name a starting quarterback or you give out a depth chart, these guys could just turn around and leave. And then, you're stuck without some of your best players and the depth that it takes to go through a season. You remember during camp at the beginning of the season, fall practice leading up to the first game, he's like, you know what, we're developing depth at the line spots and in other spots. And I'm guessing that could be part of it. The other part could be he's older now. He's not 60 anymore. He's in his 70s, and then maybe at 70, which I haven't gotten there yet. But I've seen it with relatives like all of you guys have, including my grandparents. You do lose a little bit of the fire that you have. You have less energy. I don't know, but I can tell you this, that his demeanor has changed a lot over the last couple of years, and I'm curious as to why. Now, the good news for Alabama is the SEC is not that good this year. The SEC is not dominant this year. Florida goes out and they get, beaten up by Utah. Alabama dismantled by Texas. Go down the list. South Carolina, which was one of the big surprise teams in the conference last year, beaten by North Carolina. LSU torn apart by Florida State. And you can go through the list. Tennessee didn't look good in their last game. They beat up Virginia, but the last game they weren't that good in. Georgia's playing a cupcake schedule, so they're going to kind of get away without having a whole lot of tests. But you look at them, and the eye tests tell you that they're okay. The SEC's down, and that could be a result of NIL and transfer portal. Other teams going out, like Miami, that just beat up on Texas A&M, able to go out and get equivalent talent, where the SEC has kind of been the conference that has held, so many great players over the year. And that's something that we're going to see moving forward. The other thing, though, is I think that the SEC will develop as the season goes on. Part of the problem is you lose so many guys to the NFL when you're in these programs like Alabama and LSU and Georgia and down the line. I mean, there's just so many good players that are going to leave early, and then you're going out and you're trying to replace those. It could be a year or two where some of the other teams just have more veteran clubs, and they're able to kind of deal with that a little bit better. But the bottom line is this, is that the SEC is not as good as it was last year and the year before right now. This is something that I've talked about on radio shows, and I'm going to say it on here. And I think a lot of people quietly feel this way, but I'm going to tell you why this is important. I've got friends that are with the media relations department at Alabama, and I respect them a lot. And I understand how difficult it is to work with Nick Saban and how he really likes to keep things tight. But there's a problem when you're constantly going to the national media and you're ignoring and sometimes even rude to the local media. The local media goes to Nashville for SEC media days. And a lot of you guys probably don't know this because, you're just fans and I don't blame you and you love the program, but you don't realize your local radio station that's covering the team, your local TV station that's covering the team, and they're spending their last dollars to go to Nashville for SEC media days. And your head coach isn't going to take the time to go get on the show like, always happened. And that's something that I was really disappointed in Alabama for this year. And, the other part is hey, we'd like to have a press pass for the game. And I understand the press box is different now, and they've turned the old press box into a luxury suite to try to make some money. Look, I get it. I work in professional sports, and that's a big part of where we're going with things right now. But respect is free. And you got to treat your local media good, Alabama. And the reason why is that when you lose your 3 games this year, you can go and you can beg the national media to have your back, and they might. But the local people aren't going to pay attention to that. They don't care what ESPN says. They don't care what Fox Sports National says. They have a lot of respect for some of those great writers, but the local media is the one that's going to get your back. Take the time to go on those shows. Take the time to give those local media TV and radio and whoever covers your team on a daily basis, give them their season press passes, go out of their way to get them the information that they need and get on their shows once in a while. You're not too big to be local. And because when things don't go well, you're going to need their help. And this could be the year that happens. All right, last thing I want to talk about today is the death of college football's regular season. I was talking with a friend about the Alabama loss to Texas, and was Alabama's dynasty over, right? And the answer is no. The dynasty's not over. This year, it could be a development year for Alabama. And maybe that's what we're staring at. And the whole point of this video is that our expectations are really, 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 really high because Nick Saban and Alabama have held a really, 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 really high standard. Their expectations have been high. In the last couple of years, it's kind of come back down to earth a little bit. But what we saw before that was really astonishing. It's never been done before in the game. The reason why the dynasty is not going anywhere is that now, after this season, you can lose more games. If you lose to Texas, hey, you went out and played them, and that's okay. You lose to LSU and you lose to whoever. You just have to have enough to get into the college football playoff. And there's a big difference between 2 teams with the BCS, 4 teams like it is now, and 12 teams like it's going to be next year, right? Now, the problem that we have that you probably don't realize yet, maybe you do, some of you do, and I want to hear what you guys think in the comments, because this is one of those issues where you're going to be either right with me or you're going to be dead set against me. But the reason that college football to me has the best regular season is because it is not a regular season. It's a playoff. Alabama lost a playoff game to Texas. Texas A&M lost a playoff game to Miami because you can't afford to lose games in college football. They're all important because there are only 4 teams that get in. And think about all the teams that are playing. So the NFL, you know what? Hey, the Dolphins lost week 1 or they won week 1. Who cares? Just win week 2, win week 3. You could get into the playoff in the NFL sometimes at a 500 record. College football has been this race for perfection. And that's what's really cool about college football, the way that I grew up watching it. Next year, that's going to change. Now, will the games matter? Yeah, they'll matter, but they won't matter like a playoff matters. The impact of losing to Texas at home is not going to be the same as it was this year, next year. And I wonder what the regular season's going to look like when the regular season games don't matter anymore. I mean, think about Tulane and Ole Miss, playoff game. Tulane, a really good program. Ole Miss, very good. A matchup you never see. Ole Miss goes down there and beats them. And Tulane's out. They're not gonna be the team that slides in anymore. Next year, that could be different. So anyway, I'm just curious to see what happens to this great regular season that has really built college football. Hey, I want to hear from all of you guys. Throw your comments in there. And as I talk right now, we are closing in on 1,000 subscribers. When we get there, got a prize for you. I'm going to pick one of you guys to get Jalen Hurts, Daniel Moore print from New Life Art. Maybe you want a different one. If you're the winner, we'll talk about it. I love Jalen Hurts, what he's doing in the NFL, and it's a really cool picture of him helping Alabama come from behind to beat Georgia. Crimson Redemption, it's a fantastic print, full size, and you'll win that if you're the person that's selected once we get to 1,000 subscribers. And look, if you want to get your own print from New Life Art, use Bama Tailgate. That's your discount code to get it. But say Roll Tide by subscribing to the Bama Tailgate channel right here on YouTube. Hey, guys, I'm Mick Gillespie. Roll Tide, thanks for being here. And again, we'll talk to you